Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short little knife review slash overview, more of an overview to share with you guys. This is the Civivi Elementum, but it's in S35VN, which is awesome because this is not an expensive knife. This is going to be a short video, or shorter video than my normal videos, because I've already reviewed the Civivi Elementum. Spoiler alert, I think this is a great knife. You can check that review out under my Cheap Knives I Like section, as well as my Recommended Knives section, or the playlist. This knife was sent to me by @CKY163 on Instagram. Please give him a follow. It's because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. It's also because of my generous patrons. Thanks so much for supporting me right now. If you'd like to get your hands on some of these cool stickers and other benefits, there's of course a link down in the description. And follow me on Instagram as well. Okay, so this is an interesting knife. The reason that I said yes, when somebody said, do you want to take a look at this, is because it's in S35VN and it is, or it was, an $80 knife. The last time I checked, it said coming soon, but this is pre-recorded. I will leave links to this down in the description so you can check this out for yourself. Obviously, people like this, so Civivi is clearly interested in continuing to do it, which is a good idea. So yeah, there'll be links for the standard Elementum as well as this S35VN variant down in the description. We'll go ahead and do my usual stuff, even though I've done this before and everybody knows. Overall length of the Elementum's coming in at 7 inches. Blade length's coming in at 3 inches. Cutting edge is coming in at about 2.75, something like that. Size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. The Rat 1 is coming in at 8.6 inches overall. So it's not a small knife, but it's definitely not a big knife. How about up against the Spyderco Pm2? Spyderco Pm2 is coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue is coming in at 8 inches overall. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Spyderco Para 3 is coming in at 7.25 inches overall, which this is closest to in size, but it definitely does have a little bit more cutting edge. The action on this guy is great. We've talked about this before. These run on bearings. Flip's awesome. The detent's great. The inside of these are milled out liners. In this case, a lot of people don't like this Ghost or JG10. I like it. And I really like the contrast with black. I'm just now discovering that this is very aesthetically pleasing. I did not used to like black DLC, black, the black wash, or the, whatever. I don't know why I do all of a sudden. Certain colors contrast well with black. I like this, right? Fortunately, this is, the standard version of this knife is available in a lot of different configurations, and I'm hoping Civivi decides to do different, aesthetic configurations of this S35VN variant. I do a hardware check for you guys. You guys know the drill. You can find my tools down in the description. You can also find my flashlight down in the description if you want to pick that stuff up for yourself. This is T8. T8, 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 all the way around. It's great. It's easy to carry. Your profile on this guy, not super thick up against the Spyderco Para 3. And it's also not tall and not a long knife. I mean, everybody knows about the Elementum, right? The Elementum is a good EDC knife. The standard version of this comes in at about 50 bucks. This guy comes in at about $80. That's a good price, period. That's as fast as I've ever done a review. But it's because I've already gone over this knife in detail. I want to talk about Civivi, and I want to talk about S35VN. Now, there's a lot of people right now who really only, especially, I live in the United States, there's a lot of people in the United States who only want to give their money to U.S. manufacturers. And I completely and totally understand that. In fact, the vast majority of my own collection, my collection that has, been built, out of my own pocket, I have many very expensive knives from U.S. companies, and I 100% believe in that, as is, I'm sure, the case with you. Wherever you're from, you believe in manufacturing in your home country. We also have people that live all over the place who are limited by a certain budget and just want a good cutting tool, in which case I think it's completely reasonable to pick something up that's manufactured wherever that's just a good design. And that's why I use my channel as, for what it is. I want to make sure that people, get what they're looking for and have an honest review. You get my honest thoughts, right? The Civivi Elementum is that. If you live in the United States and you have the opportunity to buy from the United States, buy buy American, right? But if you're limited by budget and you just want a good design, the Civivi Elementum is one of the more excellent choices in the budget knife world. I want to talk about S35VN and S45VN and where the world of knives is headed. So S35VN is still considered a premium steel by most. It is one of my favorite user steels of all time. It has pretty good edge retention. It is easy to sharpen versus many other super steels out there. It is corrosion resistant. It's fairly tough for a steel that is truly stainless. And it was actually developed for folding knives. A lot of people know the story behind that. It was S30V first, and then they evolved S30V to make it easier to machine, and the end result of that is that it was easier for the end user to sharpen. Assuming that it's optimally heat treated, which I think most people agree is somewhere between 59 and 61. Some people will say more, you know, whatever. Maximum hardness, like increasing the hardness as high as it can possibly go, does not make the steel better. There's an optimum range where you have to consider all of the other traits that they were trying to, you know, get into that steel. But anyways, getting off on a tangent. S35VN is a great composition that is becoming, not old news, but older news. It's kind of like what happened to 154CM. I remember, you know, when I kind of was tiptoeing into this, 154CM was hailed as this excellent, amazing super steel. The standard version of it, the 154CM, being ingot formed, but it had a very fine grain structure. They have a powder form version of it, which is technically better, but it, you know, the idea oftentimes behind the powder formation is that it benefits from even carbide distribution if those carbide formations are present in the composition, which is not so much the case with 154CM. It doesn't rely as heavily on that. So the powder formation, the benefit according to ProTech, which I directly asked this question to, is there might be a 5% benefit in toughness, which is, it is what it is, a 5% benefit, right? But it's not that much. This doesn't really matter. What I'm saying is that 154CM and CPM 154 are my very favorite user steels of all time. I've never used another steel and resharpened it, you know, so many times and come to a conclusion that's, I just really like 154CM. It's so incredibly well-rounded. S35VN is right in the same ballpark. It's a little harder to sharpen, a little more stainless, holds an edge a little bit longer, right? Toughness is, I don't know, maybe it's somewhere around the same ballpark, whatever. But the way that people view it now is much like how people viewed 154CM a few years ago. And now we're seeing 154CM pop up more plentifully in the sub $100 range. And I am more than happy to buy a knife between $50 and $100 in 154CM. So am I happy to see S35VN, you know, in this case, falling into that same price range? Definitely. Definitely. Civivi doesn't need me to tell them this. You guys don't need, Civivi doesn't need me to tell them this, and you guys don't need me to tell you this. But S35VN is very much welcome in this price range, and I honestly think we're going to see it a lot more now that S45 is there. S45VN has some marginal differences, you know, as far as I understand, you know, to S35VN, but it's new and it's shiny, and that's what happens with steel compositions. A lot of people are like, new steels are gimmicks, this is a gimmick, this thing is a gimmick. I mean, okay, so anything is a gimmick. Any new model of anything, any slight increase in power and performance in a vehicle can be considered a gimmick if they can get you to trade in your old one and buy a new one, or keep your old one and buy the new one anyway. It doesn't matter what market we're talking about. That's simply going to happen. It's part of the natural evolution of, you know, these markets. New stuff that was once new becomes old, and there needs to be new things to attract people and keep them interested, right? So S45VN is one of those things. But I think what's going to happen is it's going to start costing less money for companies like Civivi to get a hold of S35VN, and then they can attract people to some of these knives at a smaller price point by putting some of these amazing steels on there. S35VN's composition doesn't change when it becomes less expensive. Civivi's doing a pretty good job with their heat treat and their geometry, which is substantially more important than the composition of the steel itself. But I'm happy to have that composition coupled with those other two things. And I'm definitely happy to see it in this price range. And I'm really hoping that this is that indicator, that we're going to start seeing these, you know, that steel in this price range. I think that's awesome. Now, for people just using their knives for simple tasks throughout the day, is that you know, the difference between your S35VN and your, let's take 9CR18 MOV. And I know people are going, oh my gosh, there's a huge difference. Yeah, there is definitely a difference in composition and performance between those two blade steels. But for somebody who's just getting their pocket knife out a couple of times a week and cutting open a box, are they going to notice the difference? No. It's one of those things that's going to make you feel good about the extra $15 to $20 you spent, you know, if that's the pref. We're talking about a 9CR18 MOV Civivi or D2 Civivi at around $55, right? And then we're seeing this in 75 to 80 bucks, you know, it's going to make people feel a little bit better about the thing that's in their pocket. But some people are definitely going to notice the difference. People who are using their knives constantly and sharpening constantly. S35VN is very welcome. But at the same time, for a long time, S35VN will continue to be seen on knives that cost substantially more. This is always confusing to people because, especially new people, they automatically associate, you know, the cost of the knife with certain steels. M390 costs a lot of money. It used to be S35VN costs a lot of money, right? It's not so much the steel. It's where it's made, how it's made, right? How many processes, how much it costs to produce. Steels certainly are more or less expensive, right? It costs a lot more money to get your hands on something like Maximate than it does D2, right? But those steels are more or less appropriate for different types of tasks. I've talked about this many times. I've got many discussion topics on steel. I am not a professional. I'm not a metallurgist. I don't consider myself a professional. I'm simply, like many of you, somebody who reads a lot on the internet. I'll direct all of you, anybody who doesn't know, Knife Steel Nerds, that's the place to go for all of this information if you really want to dive into it. The point of this video is, this is neat. I like this. This is a good design. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And there's a steel on it that is amazing for what they want for it. So yeah, I would expect to see more of this, and I would expect other companies to follow in this wake. I don't know if this is going to happen, if we're going to start seeing a bunch of these types of knives in S35VN pop up the next month, or whether it'll take a year or so. I don't know. But this is great. If you can get your hands on a Civivi Elementum in S35VN or any of these well-made budget knives from some of these excellent companies like Civivi for under $100, they're, you know, recommendable initially. I mean, obviously, you know, you have to consider the design and whether or not it's right for you. But yeah, heck yeah, if we can get these under $100, that's really, really cool. Just some general thoughts. Nothing ultra comprehensive here, right? People always want different things from my videos. Why didn't you discuss in-depth S35VN? Why didn't you do a massive long cut test and talk about, why didn't you, you know, go... Yeah, my videos just tend to be whatever they are. I upload a lot of content, usually at least 14 uploads a week, consisting of discussion topics, top 10s, some screen recording stuff, and of course, knife reviews. And in this case, it just doesn't warrant a full review. Everybody knows this is a good knife. Most people are going to be in agreement that S35VN is welcome on a design like this under $100. It is what it is. I just wanted to show it for people who are unfamiliar. You know, if you're waiting or you're considering buying something, you know, but maybe something like this sounds a little bit more appealing. If you're patient, we'll see more stuff like this in the knife world. I'm sure of it. And that's no revelation. I think most people can come to that conclusion on their own. This was cool. Thanks again. Thanks so much to at CKY163 for sending this guy in and letting me take a look. Guys, short video today. That's going to be pretty much it. Follow me on Instagram. If you enjoyed this video, at least found it mildly entertaining, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that metal complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.